All right, very nice day here in Pennsylvania. We are currently enjoying our false spring. The second winter will be coming very soon. If you don't live in Pennsylvania, you might not be familiar with the fact that we have 11 seasons here. We have winter, then we have fall spring, then we have second winter, then we have the pollinating, then we have the actual spring for a little while, then we have summer, then we have Hell's Front Porch, then we have fall for a little while, then we go back to Hell's Front Porch, then we have the actual fall, which I don't even consider the actual fall because the leaves don't even turn orange and red, they just turn brown fall. It's very aesthetically unpleasing. But anyway, enough about that. If you're new here, my name is Zach, and this is a car channel. And that works out perfectly because I happen to have 3 of them, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. A little overview of my shitbox collection, we'll say. Get back in a second. Alright, so what I want to talk about today is basically just, like I said, my project cars. And the goals, both short-term and long-term, very, very long-term. Like when I say long-term, I mean years. Many, many years. Pretty much the entirety of the ownership of these cars. So after this video, don't expect me to be doing an engine swap next week and then doing a turbo kit the week after, then hitting the dyno and then hitting the track afterwards, then all within a month or so, because that's not going to happen. You know, I'm not like one of those car YouTubers that just has endless money to dump into their projects and just continues to be making content out of them. You know, I work a regular job, like it pays decent, but not really enough to, you know, build a race car out of. So we do things here and there as we can. I'm probably in a similar position to a lot of you watching this right now. So yeah, we'll see how this goes, and should be an interesting journey. Gonna be a painful one as well. All right, so to start off, we'll go in chronological order, starting with this basket case of a 1990 Honda Civic. So, story behind this car. This is my first car. I got it in early spring of 2016. A little bit of a late bloomer with getting my first car. Most of my friends got them in high school or right after high school, but nonetheless, I got it. This is the car that I wanted, and I searched for a long time for it, and I did find it, and here it is. A little bit of a lesser condition that I purchased it in, though. So, this is a, as I said, 1990 Honda Civic DX. Came with a D15 B2, making a whopping 90 horsepower, if that. The 0 to 60 time is about 18 seconds, so I'm thinking it's making more around 50. Although it's making nothing now, we pulled the engine out. And basically, I bought this to be my project car, be the car that I build and, you know, take the shows and take the track and do project car stuff with. And as you can see, it's not going so well. There's a few components missing from it. It also really doesn't help that I was in an accident in 2017. As you can see, the door is jacked up and the rear quarter panel, can't really see that, but yeah, the rear quarter panel is messed up and this fender was destroyed, but we took that off. Ice cream truck's coming. Anyway, when I bought this car, my intention was to do my original intention was to do a B16B swap, this full Type R swap. Now, when you were 18 years old and only making $11 an hour, thank you. People just have the audacity to fighter jets over my house when I'm trying to film something. Anyway, yeah, when you're 18 years old and only making $11 an hour, a B16B is a little expensive. So I decided to go with a B16A, and I did get a B16A. I got it from a parts car, but you know, just stuff happened, you know, life happened, college stuff happened, and over the years, the car just sat, never ended up pulling the motor out, and I parted ways with it a couple years ago at this point, so I'm left with a shell with no engine, so we're gonna have to find a new engine eventually. Now, I'm thinking some other things. I've been looking into K-Series. I've been looking into K24A engines of the JDM Accord variety, which we know as the Acura TSX here in the States. I have heard that a lot of people running forced induction see just as good results with those engines as they would a K20A from a Type R or something like that. And I'll most likely be doing the good old K24, K20 head swap. yeah, that's a food for thought for this thing. Originally, I was going to do an NA build, and I probably still will do an NA build at some point because I want to experience what an NA car is like. I really hope this wind noise is not coming on camera. The goal is to run some sort of forced induction setup and do competitive time attack. That would make me very, very happy. But that is a big goal, and that's going to take a lot of time to get to. I've still considered doing a B series. I do actually have B series parts. I have a Skunk 2 alpha header, and I have a P28 ECU, which is for B series. So if I wanted to get a B series engine, I probably could get it running fairly easily. And on top of all that, this is where you probably think I am completely insane, and you'd be correct. I want to do an all-wheel drive swap. Now, I'm not one of those anti-front-wheel drive guys. I mean, I bought this thing. There's nothing wrong with front-wheel drive. You can fight me on that. You just got to learn how to handle it. But yeah, I think a turbocharged all-wheel drive time attack EF would be quite a spectacle for me to drive around the track. So I have to just tear apart everything, literally just get this stripped down to a bare chassis, get rid of all the old suspension, stuff like that, new wheels. And because of this damaged rear quarter fender, I would like to do a wide body, you know, because I think the coolest race cars are the widest race cars, obviously. But also, I've seen a few wide body EFs, and I just love the way these things look with like an old school looking like GT style wide body. Like, my two inspirations for what I want this car to look like are Ali Mickinson. I cannot pronounce this man's last name, so I'll just put his Instagram like on the screen, and Richie wide body EF. Like, those are the two main inspirations for what I want this car to look like. But as you can see, it's a bit of a mess. So I've been having some conflicting emotions about this car. I tend to be unhealthily sentimental towards things. This was my first car, and I've had a lot of memories with it. I've driven it a lot. I worked a long time and a lot of long hours to get this thing, and I just really love the idea of, you know, making my first car, the car that I've always wanted to, like, make a race car. Like, literally, like, when I was 5 years old, like, I wanted to build, like, an EF hatch. I got bullied for that, by the way, because what the hell 5-year-old wants is dream car is a Honda Civic. So I am very much debating parting ways with this thing and moving on to something fresh. But the condition I have to really get rid of it is that I have to have a new good EF in my possession, which is becoming very hard. I got this thing for $1,500, and nowadays this would probably go for about $3,500. The price gouging for 90s Hondas is becoming absolutely insane. It's literally a crisis. The same shit's going on in the Miata community with the hardtops. We'll get to that in a second. Things are becoming very, very hard to come by. People don't want to let them go, and when they do want to let them go, they're asking like $5,000 for a DX. Like, sure, you can get $5,000 for a clean SI, but like a DX with a D15, 90 horsepower, like, come on, dude, like, not yet, maybe one day. But yeah, that's that. All right, moving on to a much more rational build. My 1991 BRG Mazda Miata. So, this was my third car. I got an Audi in between owning this and that. That's a story in its own right. But yeah, this was my third car, and I got it right after I got into the accident with the EF in December 2017. I think I got this like December 11th of 2016, maybe. It kind of was pandering around with the idea of owning a Miata, and I was looking around, and my friend sent me a listing of this one, and price was right. It was nearby, and it was someone that I was familiar with, so I hopped on it and went and got myself a British Racing Green Miata. Fun fact about this car, if you've ever seen Doug DeMiro's video on the Unas Roadster, which is the fancy Miata they have in Japan, if you're not familiar, the owner of that Roadster is the previous owner of this car, and the reason he sold it to me was to make room for that Miata. So yeah, a little YouTube fun fact for you. His Instagram is MX5 Militia, by the way. He's literally like the connoisseur of Miatas. Like, definitely go follow him if you're like into MX5s at all. So I daily drove this for about two to 3 years, about 3 years or so. And I'll make a separate video going over what it was like to daily drive a Miata for 3 years. And you know, I've been driving it, enjoying it, and yeah, when I got this car, I was thinking I was going to keep it for, you know, a year, a few months, and then just get the Miata experience and then sell it for something else. Literally, like, within the first week of driving this thing, I was like, no, this is a keeper. I'm hanging on to this thing. Because it is so far, like, it's, like, my most favorite car I've ever owned by far. I've owned 4 cars, I think, 5. And they're all different in their own ways, but so far, this one is number 1. It just feels like what a sports car should feel like. Like, the steering feels fantastic, like, to this day. The throttle response is great. Like, the turn-ins, like, everything. I'll make a full video, you know, kind of updating on my Miata experience, I guess. But, yeah, the car just feels fantastic for, like, a 30-year-old car. There's someone coming. I'm going to go hide real quick. Yeah, so eventually I'll make a video on when it was, like, owning this car for 3 years. But goals for it, short term, would be to just give it a little refresher, just update stuff, you know, alternator, brake master cylinder, power steering. I've considered doing a power steering swap. I might do an NB swap, but in order to do that, in order to do that, you have to do an NB front subframe swap, which I've heard there's some benefits to having a NB front subframe in an NA. I've heard it tightens up the steering. Same thing with the steering rack. Just tightens everything up, makes it a little more responsive. But as I was just saying, I'm kind of pretty happy with how the steering is. I mean, if it could be better, then yeah, sure, that'd be fantastic. But I don't know if I want to really tear everything apart just to see a little improvement. But I'll look more into that. I'm also going to upgrade the brakes. I'm going to do the upgraded brake kit from Moss, which, again, I considered doing the NB brake kit, but they sell both upgraded brake kits for NBs and NAs, and I don't really know if I would see much benefit cross-shopping those things. Again, more things to look into. If you have been here a while, you remember that when I got this car, and for the majority of the time I owned it, it had the daisies on there. I now have 15 inches from an NB, and other than the little Grogu sticker, that's pretty much the only thing that's aesthetically different about this car. As well with the brakes, I will probably be doing coilovers. I'm not entirely sure which brand I have decided yet. I'm going to be doing new tires as well, something stickier. Probably going to be getting new wheels before the end of the year too. Well, I'll be getting the wheels and tires at the same time, hopefully sometime during the summer, honestly. I want to drive this thing a lot more this year. Probably going to go with Enkei RPF 1s because everyone goes to the RPF 1s. There's a reason for it. They're a good wheel, especially for the price. So, brakes, refreshing engine components, wheels. Then, well, this is going to come first. Soft top, as you can see, we have nasty JB weld job holding this thing together. Looks like a schnauzer barfed on it. I do have a new top. I've spent so long trying to fix this. Like a few weeks after I got it, we had this massive snowstorm, and I ordered a top cover. I do have a top cover for this thing. I put them on when it rains or snows or whenever. And the day after I ordered my top cover, we got the huge snowstorm and the back window collapsed, as my luck goes. So I do have a new top for this. It's a tan top. I decided to go with a tan top because, I think a tan top will just complement the British Racing paint a little bit better. Then we gotta do some things with the interior, which I do have a lot of plans with the interior. I plan on doing some quite nice things to it, honestly. I have new door panels, which are more, they have the larger top piece, the larger top black piece. I'm probably going to be swapping out the rear partial soft carpet for something diamond quilted, because I'm into that. I basically want this thing to look like a 60s British sports car on the inside, but with some modern twists. I have new upholstery for my seats. As you can see, my speaker headrest is talking. Got to get new speakers for that too. And the cushion on the driver's side is a little janky. Passenger side is fine though. But yeah, I do have new upholstery for these seats. Those will be installed soon as well. I have the soft top right here, and my seat upholstery is here somewhere. I don't really feel like looking for it, but it exists. And I gotta fix my window regulators, because both of them stopped working. I don't know why, but they both stopped working about within a month of each other. and I'm now holding them up with screwdrivers. It's probably the most ghetto shit you've ever seen, but it beats having my windows just fall down on me at a random time. So you gotta do what you gotta do. We'll get that fixed. Now, long-term goals for this car. The engine does feel good. I do drive it regularly, and I do take it the red line regularly, and it just takes it. I feel like I could just rev this thing to the sky all day, and it just would not give a fuck. I don't know if it can handle boost, though. I do want to do forced induction on this as well. If this can handle boost, we'll make sure that it could handle boost before I boost it, obviously. I might go with a 1.8. Again, possibly just food for thought. I might do another 1.6, but actually, in the perfect world, I would be able to find a built motor for this thing, because I'm in a lot of Miata pages, as you can imagine, on Facebook, and I've seen a couple built motors be listed on there for not too bad prices, about $1,800 to $2,000, which, as long as they were to come with a proper engine management system, because that's the expensive part of getting a built motor running, that would be nice. That would be a very nice find. But, you know, I'm not just going to sit there hoping for a built motor to grace my Facebook feed. I eventually will get tired of waiting, and I'm going to start doing stuff to the engine. We'll start with simple stuff like intake, exhaust, which intake and exhaust will be done this year as well. Simple bolt-on things of that nature. And when I get a floor plan for it, I'll come up with like an entire list of parts that I'm going to be getting for it over the next few months. Would like to get this thing boosted. Would like to make somewhere around the realm of 250 horsepower. I think that'd be pretty potent for a 2,100 pound car. And one day, brace yourself, I would like to get a Rocket Bunny kit for this thing, because I like the way the Rocket Bunny kit looks. I know wide bodying cars is controversial nowadays for some reason, even though most people actually like wide body cars, they just don't want to admit it. But yeah, I mean, I like the way the Rocket Bunny kit looks, and I want a Rocket Bunny Miata. So I know it might seem like sacrilege to Rocket Bunny a British Racing Grade Miata, but I never planned on selling this thing, honestly, so it'll be my Rocket Bunny British Racing Grade Miata. Those are the goals for this thing. And now we move on to the final, probably the most rational car I have, my 2011 Honda Odyssey. Look at that. That is some Rolls-Royce shit right there. So, yes, this is actually my Honda Odyssey, not a hand-me-down. Title's in my name. I deliberately went to a dealership and bought this thing myself. For a few reasons. I'm sure you're wondering why the hell I bought a Honda Odyssey. One, me and my friends go on a lot of trips, and, you know, it's nice to have just one single vehicle you can pile everyone in and just put all their stuff in and just go to and from. So, there's that. And also, you know, I've carried car parts in it, I've carried tires in it and stuff like that. Very useful for that. Secondly, and mainly, I got this to be a film vehicle. Now, around 2019, and in 2019, I decided that I want to get a film vehicle. So originally, I was looking at station wagons. I was trying to get my hands on a Camry station wagon. They were getting scooped because, you know, Radwood. I was having some trouble finding them. And then I went to H2O, and I began to notice something as I was walking up and down the strip. There were a lot of people using minivans because sliding doors make a great vantage point for filming cars. So I pretty much realized that the best film vehicle is going to be a minivan. So on the hunt, I went for a minivan. But originally I was looking for a Toyota Previa, which I had a very hard time finding those because, you know, again, Radwood. Yeah, I thought a Toyota Previa would be a really cool film vehicle, you know, do some stuff to that, make it look interesting. But I decided to go with something more modern, so I knew Honda, so decided to get myself a Honda Odyssey. And so far, I've owned it for about a year and a half now, I think. It's been a while. And didn't really get that much use out of it in 2020 because COVID, didn't really have much shoots going on. But yeah, I do have some plans to get this thing rigged up to be a film vehicle. I'm sure you're very curious to hear how it drives, and it drives like a 2011 Honda Odyssey. It does have a J35, it does have VTEC, and you do notice when the VTEC kicks in. So that's a little bit of a spectacle. 5-speed transmission, operates like a 5-speed transmission, and an Odyssey, I'm sure it's probably the same 5-speed transmission they introduced back in 2003. So it's not that great. I mean, it works. It just does things that make me angry, and I'm sure that most people who own these things don't even notice. But yeah, I spent most of my time driving manual cars. This is uncomfortable to me. That's whatever. But anyway, what I'm planning on doing with this thing, right now I have a harness. I'm just doing like a harness setup. But what I want to do, get some sort of rig that I can mount up on or around the running board, like a slider dolly setup. I have a couple slider dollies that I could see if they would work. Might have to do some modifications. Might have to completely build my own from scratch. Most likely going to be building one from scratch, but that's fine. I would like to have something mounted up right there, and I would be able to control it using my phone. My phone would be controlling the gimbal, and my tablet would be controlling the camera, because Sony camera is pretty Wi-Fi friendly. And I would be able to just sit in the passenger seat or sit up front or wherever and just be able to film the cars without really attracting too much attention. Because, you know, when you're hanging out the side of the van with a harness and stuff like that, a cop sees you, they're going to start asking questions. I would have to have something that would be able to mount up on the side. I have a lot of stuff in here right now. I'm not going to fold up the seats. There's a pretty deep dip in here underneath these folding seats. And I could definitely put a rig in there and not really worry about it flying out. One day, I want to get this thing like fully autonomous, if you know what I mean. I want to get like an actual rig I can mount on like a tow hook on the rear, and like a suction mount, some deal I can do on the front. But those are very expensive, so that's going to be another thing that's down the road. It's not a good idea. Probably shouldn't be modifying a minivan, but yeah, I would love to modify this thing. It's not like a necessity, but like, yeah, if I could one day get this thing like slammed on bags or something like that, or just like put a spoon livery on it or something, and have that be my film vehicle, like that would be fantastic. But that's something that can happen one day in the future. I just think, like, you know, Alpha JDM is my brand, and this would be my Alpha JDM film vehicle. Instead of people seeing, you know, just a black minivan just roll next to a car, they'll see like some stanced minivan, like with a livery or like underglow rolling next to the car, and be like, who the hell is that? And they'll ask me why I'm driving a slammed minivan with underglow, and I'm like, oh, I film cars. And they're like, oh, I have a car, like, you film my car. And ideally that's how that would work out. But yeah, another long-term goal, really not that important. The van is fine the way it is, except it does need some work. I have a bad opinion of Nissan Rogues. I'm gonna just say that right now. So yeah, you gotta get that fixed. And I got a nice crack in the windshield that, yeah, that was just there one day. I just realized that outro I filmed was completely blown out. But yeah, anyway, those are my cars, essentially, because like I said, I'm a car channel and we do car things here. I do apologize for slacking with the uploads. I'm gonna try my best to get my shit together and be more consistent. Like I said, I'm, you know, work and things of that nature. But yeah, I hope you found this video enjoyable in some shape, way, or form, and guess I will see you guys soon. Alright, hope you have an awesome day.